Hey, Coach Trevor Gross from CUTigers.com here. Congratulations on a great season. I guess as you look ahead to Pittsburgh, the game Saturday night, how is Pitt similar or different from a personnel standpoint from when you played them 5 months ago in the ACC championship?
They're very, very similar, but they're a little bit deeper. They're bringing a couple more players off the bench than they did probably in the fall. Prior to our game in the championship, they had some COVID issues, so I think that probably thinned out their roster a little bit. But the first 11 is pretty much the same as we saw in the fall, just a little bit deeper, a little bit more experienced, and playing very well.
And Mohamed Seye seems to like playing Pittsburgh. He's scored 2 of your 3 goals in your last 2 meetings with them. What kind of a spring has Seye had for you?
He was out early in the spring and has now come back and is rounding into form. Again, it takes a couple, 3 games, 3 weeks to get back to where you were in the fall. And I'm hoping that we'll see a little bit more out of him Saturday and as we go into the NCAA tournament.
You've been able to score the first goal in all but 2 of your games this spring. How much of a key will that be on Saturday to be able to get the early lead like you did against Pitt the last time?
Yeah, I mean that's in any soccer game, right? If you score first, then you're the other team is got to go uphill, and if you can come out and score that goal early. It helps ease a lot of the tension that goes into a game that's going to be very closely contested.
And Coach, you had 3 ACC first teamers go pro from last fall. Who's really stepped up for you this spring in their absence?
Well, I think the whole team has, to be honest with you. I think everybody understood that we were going to be missing some of our more talented players. We expected it, but I think that the leadership from George Marks and Oscar Ogren, James Brighton, Callum Johnson, Charlie Asensio, those guys have done a really, really good job. Justin Malou of making sure that our team stays focused and that our younger guys who have had to fill in for some of the older guys, Isaiah Reed, for example, are focused and ready to go and ready to do their job now.
Coach, what do you think about this experiment, the format that you've had this year with the fall and spring seasons? And are you in favor of continuing this format indefinitely? No question.
It's something that I've been working with some of my colleagues in the game throughout the country for the last 5 or 6 years on. It's created a much more balance to the student athlete's life. From an academic and from an athletic standpoint. We're doing some studies right now on the injuries and the cause of injuries and extent of injuries. And I think that information is going to be very valuable as we move forward and hopefully get this as the permanent format for men's soccer as we move forward in the 21st century.
Are there any cons or negatives to it, or does it present any challenges that you've seen so far?
Well, I think in some parts of the country it does. I think the challenges in even in the South, we're blessed here at Clemson that we don't have some of the traditional spring sports that some of the other ACC schools have in terms of lacrosse. This year in this model, we started February 1st, which is earlier by about a month and a half of what the one that's been proposed to the NCAA. And that created some weather challenges and some games having to be played indoors because of facilities. But in terms of quality of play, what's best and in the best interest of our student athletes, coaches, and staff, there's no question this is the best model for the sport.
And I guess they've announced the NCAA tournament games are going to be all held in North Carolina, which I guess is favorable in terms of some of the alternatives. But of course, it also means that you won't have any home games in the early round games. Just your thoughts on that?
Well, unfortunately, North Carolina is not far away, but the way we have performed so far this year, as long as we had continued to play, we were hoping to be able to play at home, and our seed would have earned us that right. So having to go to North Carolina and playing on a neutral site is, it's a little bit of a detriment, but we're playing an NCAA tournament. So, for us, we're just excited to play Saturday. And if we earn the right to get the automatic bid, our next game obviously will be in North Carolina. And if not, hopefully we'll be selected as that large team, and we'll be able to do that as well. But we're going to miss the great fans at Riggs. And, I'm a Liverpool fan, and I know that they've been missing their fans at Anfield. And I feel the same way about our fans here at Riggs.
Well, that was my final question for you, was just how much have the fans helped you this season? Despite the restrictions of only having, I believe, 1,000 fans for the spring.
I think it was particularly noticeable this year because there are many places that did not have fans, and we were able to have 1,000 people in the stands. And it creates an atmosphere and energy and a buzz, because that's who the players play for. And for us to be able to have that and have at least that sense of 2 hours of normalcy in front of our fans and what the energy they bring, there's nothing better than playing as a Tiger here at Clemson.